And a good Thursday evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on a McFiles Thursday night. We're so grateful to have everybody. And we've had her on somewhat recently, but we're grateful to have our precious goddaughter, Magdalene Rose, with us. It's hard to believe, kid. I've known you almost 7 years now, going on 8, and it's been a wonderful journey with you. And I want to, first of all, welcome you to the show tonight. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank you for Mac Iverson. We've had so much good response about that interview Tuesday night with him, and you were a big reason for that. And I want to thank you publicly, like I did privately. You're always looking out for us, and I appreciate that. I really do, kid. I wanted to bring you on tonight. So much to talk about. This thing with Joe Kent continues to bubble up, and then we've got the situation that happened today with Israel and Iran. I'll get your take on, but I want to start with Joe Kent, Tucker, Candace, and the bunch. It seems like TPUSA has issued some cease and desist orders against certain people about the slander that's going on right now. Where does all this fit in with Magdalene Rose's world and where you see all this? It's been a lot of drama, hasn't it? And it just seems that Joe Kent's resignation was sort of planned and contrived. And what I understand tonight was that he did this after he found out he was under FBI investigation for leaking classified documents, and evidently the one he leaked them to was none other than Tucker Carlson. And look, I'm sad, about his wife. For folks that don't know, he lost his wife in Syria to an ISIS suicide bomber in a restaurant. And it just seems Magdalene, he got bitter about that, and there's a lot of questions I'm going to run by you, but it's a sad thing that he's let this bitterness go to his head and create a lot of havoc in the country. And look, if he leaked these classified documents, he's going to have to pay a price. And I got no problem with the FBI doing that, because you put national security ahead of your own bitterness, you got a problem.
You do. I think Joe Kent is a little bit ridiculous right now. I think the idea that he had to resign in a horror at Trump is a bit of a reach. He's somebody who's played with the fringes of the conservative world for a while. He flirted with the idea of hanging out with Nick Fuentes. He's done all of that. So I don't view Joe Kent's word as gospel or necessarily even truth in this. I think his wife is also a very ardent leftist. And I think that his wife being so left-wing and so anti-interventionist, having worked with so many Democrats, I'm not surprised I wouldn't be surprised if she influenced this decision. I don't look at, I've interviewed Joe Kent, and I've spoken to him, and I don't look at Joe Kent as somebody particularly who I believe at face value when there's conflicting reports.
So you believe that everything he's saying right now is not true as it relates to the firing and what happened, and you think Trump basically got him out pretty quick?
Yeah, I think that Joe Kent was not trustworthy. I think he was at the beginning. A lot of people lobbied for him to have that job very hardly. And I thought it was odd at the time because, yes, he's qualified, but it's by no means was the obvious decision. So for him to be lobbied so hard for that, I think bad actors, in terms of people who are a little more non-interventionists, who tend to be like, they flirt with that theocratic worldview, I think they wanted him in, and he couldn't hold it up. The idea that he's leaking documents in no way is shocking to me, because he's always loved the media. And he had an issue with Nick Fuentes where he agreed he would endorse Nick Fuentes and never say a nasty word against him. He went back on that. He's had a lot of experience with playing all the sides.
Yeah. That's never a good thing. Now, these next questions are going to get a little bit more curious, because this is the thing that drives me nuts about Washington. I actually have felt Tulsi Gabbard has done a decent job. I'm not saying she's done a great job, but I don't think she's done the most worst job. And I think President Trump took a chance on her, being a former Democrat. And I think for the most part, she's been very loyal to the president. At least by what I can see. I mean, I don't have any inside information, but it does beg the question: how does somebody like Joe Kent operate a year under Tulsi Gabbard and she not know this stuff is going on, and not know this guy is leaking secrets? Because that, to me, is more troubling than Joe Kent himself. What's your thought on that?
Well, I don't know, and it's an odd idea. I think Tulsi Gabbard has to keep her head down in this administration. I don't think she's ever allowed to lead. You know, when Trump was taking Maduro out of Venezuela, she wasn't in the loop. When he was going into Iran, she wasn't in the loop. I don't really understand what the point of having a director of national intelligence is if you can't trust them to stay on the team. Like, I don't really get what he's getting out of Tulsi Gabbard. Maybe it's a strategic mindset. Maybe it's something like that. But what do you get out of her being in that role if you have to purposefully ice her out ahead of major national security decisions? Like, to me, that's just insane. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard would leak to the press because I do think she's a patriotic person. I don't think she's a media sleaze either. But she flirts with these people who, to them, being anti-war is gospel. Nothing like that should be gospel. And when you are so anti-war that you don't even think the United States should defend itself, that's no better than being very interventionist.
Well, that's very true. And there's videos out there of him. And by the way, the individual that says he didn't leak classified documents, well, let me put this in South Georgia terms for you. The FBI is not investigating him for playing Monopoly tonight. They're investigating him for leaking classified documents. And some people, again, that's why we have directions on Pop-Tarts. But he did do that, and that's why the FBI has got him under investigation. They're not investigating him because he didn't wear a jacket right. And it gets me fired up about this stuff because this stuff, these podcasters, Magdalene, are going to be the death of our country. These people that are doing this stuff to tear down the government, and it's really about MAGA. When you get down to it, it's the MAGA community. Tucker, Margie Taylor, Candace, the Hodge, all this bunch. Fuentes, and now Joe Kent has entered his name. It's amazing he was on Tucker Carlson's program 1 hour after he resigned and basically walked away. He already had an interview set up with Tucker. Oh, what a coincidence. Give me a break. And they're doing everything they can to drive a wedge between Trump and his supporters. And I want to just say tonight, we don't worship Trump. But I will tell you this, I support the president and what he's doing tonight in Iran. There's mistakes that are going to be made. There were mistakes made today, and it's just part of war. And war is a terrible thing. It's a horrible thing. That's why the stock market's going crazy. That's why we're paying $8 a gallon of gas again in California. It's just the way it is. But this has to be done to dismantle this terrorist regime who Joe Kent said a year ago posed a threat to national security and they had nuclear weapons. Correct?
Yeah, and he doesn't want that to be talked about, but he did do all that. Like, this idea that Joe Kent is somehow a super patriot, I don't agree with. I don't think it's true. I think it's kind of shady. And when you think about what Joe Kent says, like, yes, he lost his wife to war. I completely understand that. That does not mean that we can never be at war again because Joe Kent lost his wife. Like, that's not what that means. It's very sad. But if you are in a powerful position and you let that inform every facet of your decision making, that's not patriotic either, because you are risking hurt to the United States simply because you are trapped in never allowing anything bad, any war efforts in the United States. It doesn't make any sense. Tulsi Gabbard, I disagreed with her appointment originally. I've never been a Tulsi Gabbard fan because she brings with her these people who are so anti-war that it becomes their whole personality. And if you so much as question maybe doing something in the Middle East or any foreign policy, they accuse you of being like bought by Israel. So if you want to know why a lot of that spread, I think not her herself, but Tulsi Gabbard attracts those kinds of people.
That's interesting. Why do you think she does? Is it the former Democrat thing, or is there something else that you feel like is going on with that? Because you're right. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, because this is what's bugged me today. I've been troubled by this. I've not followed this as closely as other stories relating to the war. But when this happened yesterday, day before, the first question in my mind when I sort of saw some of the details is, how did this guy stay undercover? And of course, it has been reported that he was not in the Intelligence Committee meetings and the security briefing, so they evidently have suspected something was going on with him. But you got to ask his boss, what are you doing with this guy? He should have been fired months ago. Mag?
He should have. And I don't think it's necessarily that she's a Democrat. She's just part of this weird little group of people that thinks that you can never do anything foreign policy wise because it will lead to a catastrophic war. Did George W. Bush fail us in the war system? Yes. What did he overstate many things, and was weapons of mass destruction a disaster? Yes. We are not in 2004. We're not in
Good point.
2002. Donald Trump is in a different area. Do I think this war is particularly great ahead of midterms? Absolutely not. Do I think it's a problem that we might lose votes? Yes. But it's not like President Bush invading Afghanistan. It's not the same thing.
I'll
I
agree.
think Tulsi Gabbard has a strange group of people around her. And the truth is, these are people who like Bernie Sanders and like more socialist ideologies and all of that. I wish Trump had not appointed her. I wish we had kept this influence out. There are many non-interventionists who don't also have this flirtation with socialism.
That's a wise view there, kid. And I had a lot of people tell me very similar things when she got nominated. That it was a risk, and in fact, our dear buddy James R., who lived in Hawaii when she was in Hawaii, she was the senator from Hawaii. Was never a fan of hers, and we're going to get James R. on soon to talk about this because it goes back up the chain. But where does McMullen? Since we've talked, Kristi Noem has also been let go of the Department of Homeland Security. Did that shock you, or was you expecting that too? Because she was sort of walking on some thin ice as well, wasn't she?
She's insanely corrupt. She is insanely corrupt. She has accomplished nothing as the head of Homeland Security. It's been a nightmare. Trump didn't even know that she had a hundreds of millions of dollars ad campaign. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the idea that she was being promoted as the person securing the United States. It was nonsense. So I'm glad she's out. I think Mark Wayne Mullen's a great choice. I think it's a choice that signals that you want somebody who's not going to back down on any front. And also, Mark Wayne Mullen is entertaining. He speaks well. He is engaging. I think the men will respect him. This was the side of it. Nobody in that world was respecting Christina. I don't think FBI agents respect Kash Patel, and that's a problem within Trump's whole law enforcement system.
Were you as concerned with her as you were Gabbard, or I sort of was mixed because I've got dear friends in South Dakota, and I was up there actually the April before she got fully nominated, and they spoke somewhat highly of her. I mean, she wasn't perfect. I mean, nobody's perfect as governor, but do you think it was just one of those things that she got in over her head and she didn't realize the politics of D.C., or was there something more fundamentally wrong with her, or did you have these same issues with her like you had with Gabbard?
Not the same amount. I thought she was more like just standard corrupt, like just money hungry, that kind of thing, than there being like some secret effort to blame the Jews on for everything. Yeah. So, like, to me, it's almost like I'd rather take standard corruption over the weird stuff that is in the Tulsi Gabbard camp. There's also a lot of rumors that she's having an affair with Corey Lewandowski. Yeah. I find it interesting that he was dismissed from his position the same time she was dismissed from hers from within the White House. I don't think you can really honestly look at that and not come to the conclusion that they wanted a house cleaning of those two. So I think it's an interesting thing. I'm not sad she's gone. I think Mark Wayne Mullen is a massive upgrade, and his Senate seat in Oklahoma is very safe. We could replace that.
Right. Do you think all these things are taking place in time? Look, you mentioned a while ago, you said something that caught my attention, and I think you're correct. I mean, look, we don't want to be having this issue in October with Iran. We hope we'll get it wrapped up here soon, because you don't want to have gas at $7, $8 a gallon with your midterms coming up, because people out there in the country are going to blame the party that's in charge of that, and that's going to be the mega Republican Party, and that's going to bear not a good thing for the midterms in November, which are very important this year, probably more so than any time we've ever had them. But do you think that they did this quick enough to sort of get the trail behind, because the situation with Kent and all these cackling hens that are out there? Do you think that come November, people are going to forget about this crap and just say we're going to go vote? Because it's like I say, the Republicans may not be perfect, but the Democrats are just insane. I mean, they're just nuts, just demonically nuts.
I hope so. I think that it's possible. It's just to me like we had a chance to have a really different administration in terms of radical changes. And this situation in Minnesota, like the ice problems, the problems with that department. I think that Stephen Miller, he was in charge of that whole operation. He really failed America. He's become very focused on being famous. His wife has that podcast, and honestly, when she launched that podcast, I thought to myself, well, that's the end of Stephen Miller paying attention to anything, because now their focus is on being media personalities. So I think that the war in Iran isn't necessarily our biggest issue. Trump not being hard enough on the border is.
Really?
Yeah.
Go into that a little bit more. Explain that.
Yeah, well, Trump promised to deport millions of illegal aliens. He promised to overhaul the whole system and to do mass deportations. We all voted for mass deportations. Well, many of us did. We did not vote for like hanging out and trying to get rid of Iran and stuff. We voted for mass deportations, an emptying of this country of illegal aliens. That is not happening. Like, he's gotten out of about 3 million. The majority of them are criminals. Many of them were already in holding. And in a country where we could have 30 to 40 million people here illegally after 1 year, that's nothing. And Kristi Noem presided over that failure. Kash Patel has presided over that failure. I think Trump has great people in the economic areas of his administration, like Howard Lutnick and Scott Bassett. And Marco Rubio is a star at the State Department. But in the Justice Department, who has been delivering heavily for the American people? I can't think of anybody.
Wow. That's why I pay you the big bucks, kid, to give me these great thoughts and ideas. You've got a point, and I don't think going into this year, I will tell you this: I sure didn't believe and expect us to be in Iran tonight doing what we're doing. I didn't. I was in Israel in January, and there was definitely threats. There were a couple of nights that we were told, just heads up, Iran's threatening. I'd get texts from over here in the States, people saying, hey, just, watch your back over there. And but Trump seems to have taken the bull by the horns. I do want to ask you about this situation with Israel today. Israel bombed a oil field in Iran, and half the Middle East went up in smoke, and Qatar got upset because Iran attacked them in retaliation for the Israeli strike and sent some bombs into Israel, missiles, and they killed some people. And it really was an uptick in the Iran-Israeli exchange of missiles and weapons. But this idea, Magdalene, that we went into this Iran war because of Israel, I think is totally false. And, Benjamin Netanyahu said tonight, basically, he said, look, we can't tell Trump what to do. Trump's the president of the United States of America. He said, I'm just the prime minister of Israel. And Trump even had given him the same nod about a week ago when Trump basically he said, no, this was my decision. And if anything, I brought Israel into this, not the other way around. And is there a perception issue in that, or is it just because people hate Israel so much, anything that happens in the Middle East is going to be Israel's fault?
I don't think they just hate Israel. I think they hate Jews. I think that we have an issue with Jew hate in this country that's so rampant and growing every day that we can't get past it easily. I think a lot of Americans don't want to accept that fellow Americans put us in this position of increasing doom within our nation and left-wing lunacy. And so to deflect from the fact that millions of Americans vote for socialists and communists and people who trans children, we just blame everything on the Jews. If you blame everything on the Jews, you don't have to accept that 100 million people voted for Kamala. I think it's a get out of jail free card.
Who got out of jail get out of jail free card?
The Democrats, yes. They get, by sidestepping this, they do two things. They also get to stand with all their Muslim Brotherhood friends, but they also get to dodge the fact that they are responsible for the liberalification of America. It's not the bad Jews that did any of this. This is all from the left.
Yeah. Do you think that the left is laughing at the right tonight? Because it does seem like, I read an article yesterday or day before, and I want to say maybe it was a television program, but the individual was making a good point about what's going on with the Tuckers, the Candaces, and all this crap with Megyn Kelly and all this stuff, that the left is sitting back right now, almost with their arms folded, with a bag of popcorn, watching us destroy ourselves on the right. Do you feel that, or do you think that the people in the country, because most polls are showing that Trump's got a 95% approval rating among his base. It's not tearing the mega base down. But do you think that these right wing loons, because it's not just the left wing lunacy, buddy, it's the right wing lunacy that's driving me more insane than the left wing lunacy. The left wing lunacy's always been there. At least you know who the left is. But do you think they're making any dent in that mega base? Because it don't seem like it in the polls, at least on Iran right now.
I don't think so, but I think that the libertarian coalition is gone. Or soon to be. I think that Trump's coalition of libertarians that helped get him elected in 24 is suffering.
Okay.
I know a lot of libertarians, they are angry. They think this is horrendous. They don't understand Trump could get in a war like this. So I think that group is definitely in danger, and it's not getting better. And even more than that, the independents who voted for Trump because they wanted to care about domestic issues, they're not happy either. Donald Trump, yes, we elected him knowing he could stop the world from being on fire, but we elected him primarily because we as Americans were suffering under the dementia-riddled presidency of Joe Biden. We didn't elect him to go to war with Iran. So I don't think Trump's never in danger of losing MAGA, but he's in danger of losing everybody else.
That's interesting. So do you think that plays out in the midterms or plays out in 28?
Yeah. No, midterms, because libertarians are not going to go vote for Republican candidates that greenlight this war. Like, it all comes back to that. If you support the war, you'll lose libertarians. You lose libertarians, you lose states like New Hampshire or New England or people in areas in the Midwest. That's the problem.
Basically the Rand Pauls and the Masseys and
and Kentucky. You can look at Kentucky, you can look at those states, and then if you lose enough of those, you lose control of the House and the Senate, and then you don't get the Supreme Court. I mean, it's a domino effect.
Yes, it is. Can he recover from this though? If this war ends quickly, let's just say this thing's over within a month, that'd put us into April, and then he'll have to concentrate on the economy. Look, I'm with you about the economy because I think all of us thought, at least by this time, a year and 3 months in, that we would start have seen some really major change in the economy. And he's struggling with these interest rates. He can't get Jerome Powell to do anything. Jerome's gone in May, but we're finding out, the cry of the left, Mag, is that Trump's a dictator. He's a tyrant. He's a king, and he rules the country, and nobody can do anything, against him. Well, I tell you what, he's a pitiful king because he can't even get the Fed chair to lower interest rates. So it should tell everybody that Trump's not the king. And people have their roles, and he can't just force people to do stuff. But I do believe that we are feeling it more. I think it's been a shock to most of us, including myself. And it's not a knock on him. I understand the Iran thing. But my question to you is there time for this economy to really fully turn around before October or November, and people start feeling it in their wallets that, hey, things are better?
I think so, but not if gas prices continue to rise. And that's the difference here. Like, if that continues to escalate, I don't see what Trump's going to do, because it's summertime. There's going to be road trips. There's going to be all of that. There's going to be summer camps.
Yeah.
He's got to get a handle on this. And then, he got a couple allies to help secure the Strait of Hormuz today. I think it's like Canada. No, it's Japan and the UK. I think France is involved. There's a couple more. If that works, then we're going to have a rebound. But he's got to get control of these gas prices. People are not happy. The more unhappy people get about this, the more vicious it's going to get.
What do you think would be something that would cause the base to go against him in Iran? Boots on the ground, or the longevity of it?
No, I don't think the longevity of it, if it stays as the current system, which is mainly an air campaign. He puts American boots on the ground to be in like peacekeeping missions in Iran. There's not a libertarian in this country that will vote for him, and then moderates will start leaving. I mean, that's a problem. I would say to him from a political standpoint, please do not do this before midterms. Do not put American soldiers, because then we'll have casualties, and then we'll have people coming back we'll have soldiers coming back in coffins, and the ripple effect of that is a catastrophe.
What has been, in your opinion, and you've got a very cute mind, as far as a keen mind about politics, what is his love affair with Qatar? when this happened today and the Qatari government got hit, his tone this morning when I pulled up his True Social account or someone sent it to me, he was very harsh on Israel. And I was like, Israel's not the problem here, Mr. President. Iran is. You know, it's Iran. And he threatened Iran, but he was throwing shade a little bit on Israel in that strike. And Israel's the one taking the brunt of the missiles. Their missiles are not falling over here in America. And we've had some lone wolf attacks in this country and some close calls. I mean, to be frank with you, we've been very fortunate since this war started that these things that have happened in the country, these attacks, even though people have died, could have been a lot worse. But Israel's taken daily and nightly barrages of missiles on the front lines of this war. And to me, if I'm the president, I'm not doing anything to tell her not to defend herself and go after Iran because Iran's going after her. She's trying to destroy Israel just like Iran wants to destroy us. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's true. I mean, I think Israel can get a little heavy-handed
Well, of
sometimes in what
course.
they're doing, and that's what Trump is hinting at. I think Trump likes Qatar because the Qatar leaders are very nice to him. Like a lot of foreign policy, Macron in France talks about this. Like a lot of foreign policy boils down to who is nice to Donald Trump and who treats him well. Like people don't want to hear that, but when you treat President Trump even in private in a not kind way, your country suffers. The Qataris send him gifts. They're nice. They fund things. They disclose that they fund things, but they're involved in that. I just think he likes Qatar. And if he likes a nation, he rewards them and he protects them as long as they don't hurt him. And they're standing with him too. So it's like it's a mutual relationship in the Middle East for him.
But are you basically protecting the fox in the hen house at some point? Because
Probably, maybe, probably.
Qatar is not a friend of the United States. I hate to tell him, and they're not a friend of Israel.
No, probably, but it doesn't matter to him. I think increasingly a lot of foreign policy decisions are made based off of the fact that Donald Trump likes somebody or doesn't like them. And when that's the case, like all the intel in the world isn't going to matter to him.
That's interesting. Well, good stuff tonight. Your anything that's going on that you want to share, talk about before we let you go tonight?
I think it's interesting that VP Vance is hinting that he isn't going to run for president within like the last 24 hours. Like, if he doesn't run for president, yeah, he's been saying that, you know, he wants to focus on his family, his wife's going to have a fourth baby and all this stuff. I think that's interesting. If Vance doesn't run for president, a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that Trump started a war with Iran that Vance had to continuously back, and that made him unattractive to those more like interesting, independent, libertarian-minded, crypto bro voters.
But do you think that anything has to do with the Tucker connection? Because that's what I'm hearing from people about Vance, is that they cannot stomach the fact that he has not come out and condemned the anti-Semitic remarks of Tucker Carlson, and he's got his son working for him. And I think common sense, if I'd have been J.D. Vance and I was serious about getting into this 28 race, I hate to tell him, but people are going not to like the fact that he's got an anti-Semite as a buddy. Correct?
I mean, there's no difference between Tucker Carlson and John Kerry when it comes to like speaking with the Iranians and violating the Hatch Act and doing all these things. Like Tucker would routinely criticize John Kerry for all of this. He's doing the same thing. The Iranians speak to him to figure out what's going on in America and our foreign policy. Why? Like Tucker Carlson isn't a Muslim, but why are they doing that? I'll tell you why. Because the Jew hatred has rotted Tucker Carlson's brain and others' brains so much so they view Iran as like a long-suffering country, and it's just it's a ridiculous thing.
It is a very ridiculous thing. Now, I saw one poll, and I'll get your take on this, and I'll let you go tonight. I know it's late. Rubio has actually become a rock star, and there's a lot of people that believe he may be the ticket in 28. Do you think DeSantis gets on that ticket with him, or do you think DeSantis and him fight it out? And who do you think emerges as the front runner?
I think Marco Rubio does, because Rubio is very much he's a fundraiser. Everyone loves Rubio. And this is a problem for Vance as well. Marco Rubio knows everybody. Everybody loves him. He had unanimous consent to be not elected to be confirmed for the Senate. Is the only one in the administration who had that. he's beloved by the GOP donor base, by some of the neocons, because he's very interventionist when it comes to Latin America, and the MAGA base now greatly respects him. I think that Vance is beginning to realize that to run against Marco Rubio is not a cakewalk, and Donald Trump backs a winner. He will back Rubio if he thinks he can win, because he helped launch Rubio, so he can still take credit for him.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Who do you think emerges on the Dem? You know, we keep talking about the Dems. Look, if the Dems were a smart party tonight, which they're not, John Fetterman would be their candidate. And I've been hearing rumblings out of Kentucky that Bashir may be the one that they're looking at because he's more moderate. And, you know, I heard something tonight. It was so funny that the Democrats are learning, and they're learning it too late, I think, is that in the primary, because one of the AOC-backed loons got her clock cleaned in Illinois, and there was another one, there was a couple of these weird leftists, just like AOC and the squad, that got their lunch handed to them in these primaries, and they never learned that you don't run left in a primary. You hide your left-leaning ideology until the general, just like Tarico's doing in Texas. I mean, this guy, he don't believe God's a man. I mean, he's got so many weird things, but he ran against a absolute insane individual in Jasmine Crockett, and in light of her, he looks like Mr. Rogers. He looks like Ronald Reagan. But do you think the Dems play that card in 28, or do you think that we're looking at a Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris fight at the top for the top dog?
I think it'll be a very nasty fight, and I think that it will get even nastier. I don't think necessarily Gavin Newsom has the power that he thinks he has. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some Democrat donor step in and run himself, because they're just so disgusted with the weak bench Democrats have put together. They talk about that Kentucky governor. I think his name is Andy Bashar. They talk about him.
I know Andy.
I don't think he has national appeal. You know, to win the presidency or to even be a nominee, you have to be special. And we have a couple special people. I don't think Democrats have anybody.
Do you think the country is going to remember this shutdown at all? Because this thing's been lasting for 3 months, and you know it's really hurting the Department of Homeland Security and TSA agents, and it's all about ICE. They're just wanting ICE to stop enforcing the law. It goes back to what you were saying a while ago about them, you know, not wanting the border enforced. You think it matters at the end?
No, I don't think it matters at all. Maybe people will tell the like horror stories of travel they had, but we've had a lot of government shutdowns. I think Democrats think government shutdowns matter way more than they actually do. I've never thought they were particularly consequential. Democrats do, and I think that's strange.
Yeah. Well, kid, listen, it's 11 o'clock. It's if I was your dad, I'd tell you it's past your bedtime. But you're an adult, but I know it's late. And I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. And listen, we're going to get you and Mac on a panel probably after Easter when we get past the religious weekend, because we got a lot of faith shows coming up in the next couple of weeks. But I want to get you back with him and then get you back on again to talk about some other stuff. I'm so grateful for your insight tonight. And you know you're always welcome here. And I'll be in touch with you soon, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Have a good night, Mag. God bless. Magdalene Rose, everybody, put some fire in that house. She's got to take care of that beautiful baby of hers, and God bless her. I'm so grateful for that kid. And we've had a couple of good young people on the show tonight. And put some fire in that house, Far, if you enjoyed it tonight. And we're not going to keep you much longer. It's already 11 o'clock in the east, but good stuff tonight. Good to see Carol Smith in the house. Zoanne Bear, good to see you, dear. Vijaya's in the house. Mary Cleveland, good to see you. Our friend from Hawaii, Chow Muffin, good to see you. What a name. Susan Prusky, Janice Myers, good to see you. And others that are here tonight, Stephen Fanahoyt. And I just love people. I just love folks. It's like Baghdad Bob. We're going to have victory in Iraq here. Victory is at the door. Iran's doing it tonight. People say, no, Joe Kent didn't pass illegal documents to somebody. Oh, yeah, he did. As I said, the FBI is not investigating him for not putting milk in his Pop Tarts or putting milk into Sugar Pops. Goodness. That's for sure. Good to see Troy Apple. Good to see a lot of other folks. And tonight, we're grateful that you're here. Now, if you have got, I want to just play a couple of videos for you tonight before we bid you adieu. And I hope these videos will play tonight. We've been having problems with them. But this is, let's see here. What have I got here? I want to download this. This is the situation with Joe Kent. I'm just going to read this to you. This is from Drew Pavlau, and this is basically sums up what he did. Joe turned a Republican Congress seat blue. He failed to stop multiple terrorist attacks. He leaked against the president, then blamed Israel to gain public sympathy, destroyed his career for a communist, Max Blumenthal. That sort of says it all in a statement. It's a sad situation, and I'm going to say this again tonight, folks. I'm saddened but what happened to his wife. And I know that whether Joe admits it or not, there's a part of me that believes that there is this anger at our country. Maybe it's anger at President Trump. I don't know who he's angry with. He loses his wife in that restaurant in Syria. An ISIS bomber. We didn't do this. An ISIS suicide bomber killed her while she was sitting in that restaurant. They both were in the military. And it seems that everything changed after that. And, he gets into the Department of National Intelligence, and we go into this conflict with Iran. And I know people are saying we're at war with Iran. I guess you can say that. We've not really issued an actual declaration. President Trump tends to believe it's a conflict. And, but I'm just, I feel for Joe in that regard. Because the loss of a spouse, I don't care who you are, is very devastating. But it does not give him a right to do what he's doing to the country. And it doesn't give him a right to do what he's doing. And again, it's the easy out. Israel is the blame for everything tonight. Everything is going on is Israel's fault. And it's not. It's not Israel's fault. I don't know why a tiny little nation that's not even the size of New Jersey is basically blamed for every single hiccup and every single issue in the world. It is exactly the virus that was infesting Europe back in the 1930s. It's infesting America tonight. It's infecting the world, and it's infecting everybody. And folks, it's pushing Israel to a very prophetic place. And she, I was watching a video tonight, and the way the guy termed it, I didn't particularly care for it, but he was talking about how they're the chosen people and that Gentiles are basically supposed to die for Israelis. It's not quite true, but what we are supposed to do as Christians, we're to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We're to support the Jewish people with our love and pray for their salvation. But we need to pray for our salvation. We had somebody come in here the other night, and they say, well, the Jews need to get saved. Well, the Jews do need to get saved, but the Gentiles need to get saved too. It don't matter whether you're Jew or Gentile when you stand before the Lord. He's not going to hand you a race card. He's not going to hand you a gender card. He's not going to hand you a nationality card and judge you according to that card. No, you're going to be judged on the rejection or the faith of what he did for you at the cross tonight. And that goes for both, Jew and Gentile. And we were studying in the morning Bible studies why Israel fell. We're off on a little tributary right now, but the overall structure of our study that we have been doing probably for almost 5 months now, 4 months. I know it started at the first of the year. Was how Israel got to this place spiritually that she's in tonight of being in blindness. And it's sad to know what's ahead of her. And I think all of these things that are happening is just pushing her closer and closer and alienating her and isolating her from as many nations in the world that can be isolated from. And folks, that should tell us tonight how soon and how rapidly the second coming of the Lord Jesus Christ is upon us. It's close. It's close. It really is. And I don't know, exactly when, but I do believe that it's soon. I do. And so forth. This is Trump today. Vintage Trump. He had the Japanese prime minister in the house. And the Japanese have a press just like we do. Roll the tape.
Why didn't you tell US allies like Japan about the war before attacking Iran?
And we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right?
You didn't see the video. The Japanese prime minister, her mouth was wide open. Like, did he just say that? Basically told the reporter, he said, did the Japanese tell us when you bombed our Hawaii and Pearl Harbor? No, you didn't. And that's why we didn't tell you when we bombed Iran. I will tell you this, Magdalene pointed it out tonight. As of 24 hours ago, France, Britain, Germany, and other nations, including Japan, had basically told Trump they weren't going to help him. They weren't going to help us in the Strait of Hormuz. And I don't know what Trump did overnight, but I tell you what, there's been some serious arm twisting because every single one of those nations got up this morning and said, we changed our mind. We're gonna back your play over there. So I don't know. Call it the art of the deal. Just call it the Trump effect or whatever you want to say it. But that's the kind of president we got. And it's what leadership looks like. And we should be proud of that. We should be grateful for that. If you got any questions, folks, go ahead and put it in the house. I'm going to play a couple more videos and maybe audio on these. Hopefully we can hear it. This is a Catholic priest tonight about anti-Semitism and why we should reject it. Roll tape.
As Catholics, we are called to walk in the truth, and so to reject the conspiracies and lies that lead to harassment and even violence against our Jewish brothers and sisters. There is a strong connection between religious freedom and working to counter anti-Semitism, as Nostra Aetate puts it. In a rejection of every persecution against any man, the Church, mindful of the patrimony she shares with the Jews, and moved not by political reasons, but by the gospel's spiritual love, decries hatred, persecutions, displays of anti-Semitism directed against Jews at any time and by anyone. The Jewish community is attacked at a far higher rate than any other religious group in the United States. If we Catholics, in truly living out the gospel, are to defend religious freedom with integrity, we must clearly speak out against anti-Semitism.
That is absolutely 1,000% true. Joe Kent, by the way, his argument tonight was that the Iranians have never ever. I'll just read the tweet, and then I'm going to play you the clip here if I can get it. You may have to listen to the audio. This may be an audio thing, but Joe Kent, this is his quote. He said there is absolutely zero evidence. This is what he told Tucker yesterday. Peter Schweitzer retweeted this. He said, there is absolutely zero evidence that Iran was trying to build a nuclear weapon. Netanyahu is warmongering. Again, blaming the Jews for what happened. And he says, the deputy speaker of the Iranian parliament says, quote, we tried to develop nuclear weapons, but we couldn't keep it secret. And I will let him say this to you himself, because this is his own words. This is the Iranian minister. Roll tape.
ببینید ما اول که وارد این فعالیت هسته‌ای شدیم واقعا هدفمون ساخت بمب بود دیگه. ما
Our real goal was to build a bomb. I'm going to play that back. I'm going to play that back just a little bit. This is the Iranians talking. By the way, remember all that blather when Obama and Biden was paying all that money to put on the tarmac? Y'all remember that about 10 years ago? And we conservatives were telling people, this is a farce. It's not going to keep them from getting the bomb. They're basically sticking their middle finger up. They're laughing at us. They're mocking us. They're going to take that money and finance terrorism for the next 10 years. That's exactly what they did. Even when Trump bombed the you-know-what out of them in the summer of 25, I mean, we were basically told by our government that it took most of their nuclear capability away. But folks, I think we're finding out that was just not so. Maybe we underestimated what they did have. But these people were close. But Joe Kent's out there saying there's absolutely no evidence that the Iranians wanted to build a nuclear bomb. Well, Joe, I'm just a South Georgia boy, and I'm not a lip reader, so that's why we played the video. His real goal, our real goal, was to build a bomb. So all that nuclear fission material and all that nuclear material they were gathering and hiding about 20 miles underneath the earth, it wasn't to play footsie with. It wasn't to play Monopoly with, or Tiddlywinks, or crack, or whatever other game kids play. I don't know. I guarantee you this, it wasn't to give them energy as they claimed it was, and the media claimed it was, that Iran had energy problems, so that's what they were going to use it for. These folks are liars. I want to play this again. This is out of his own mouth. Joe Kent, are you listening?
فعالیت هسته‌ای شدیم واقعا هدفمون ساخت بمب بود دیگه ما تعارف که نداریم.
یعنی شما میگید هدف ساخت بمب بوده
واقعا 100%.
هدف کی این بوده؟ یعنی
کل نظام یا همه اونایی که این فعالیت رو شروع کردن واقعا هدف ساخت بمب بود. کاری که شروع کرده بودیم دیگه می‌خواستیم خب اینو شما اگه میتونستیم حفظش کنیم و بمب آزمایش می‌کردیم کار تموم شده بود. مثل در پاکستان ما که شروع کردیم بعد تا آخرش.
حالا اینه که شما میگید میگم ما تا حالا رسمی خیلی نشدیم کسی این صحبت‌ها رو کنه. اینایی که شما میگید تبعاتی نداره مثلا مذاکرات و اینها با عنوان بالاخره کسی که
حرف ما توجه نداره.
با خارجی بالاخره پیدا می‌کنن.
Yeah, interesting. That was a Iranian minister, person in the government. He said, nobody listens to me anyway. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you tonight. We already knew this. We already knew this. We already knew this, didn't we? Yep, we did. Here is a Fox News story. I want to play this, and then we're going to play a couple more, and then we're going to take... Carol, let me get to your statement about NATO, because that is part of the equation with Kent tonight, I believe. But this is a Fox News that sort of goes along with what he's doing, the Kent situation. But I do believe what you're saying is true about Trump and NATO. Here is Fox News today on the Joe Kent situation. He was going to be charged criminally by the FBI. That's why he got out. But that's not what he's telling Tucker and these other loonies that are having him on their shows. Roll the tape.
Sources are saying that Joe Kent, the former director of the United States National Counterterror Center, this is from Semaphore, he just resigned. He's now under FBI investigation for allegedly leaking classified information.
Let me stop it right there. For allegedly leaking classified information. I'm saying that for individuals out there that didn't believe he leaked classified information. I'm not saying he did. It's alleged. He wouldn't be under investigation if there wasn't evidence to investigate him for. Roll the tape.
And the investigation predates his departure.
Predates his departure. That means he was doing this before he resigned.
Congressman, your reaction to that tonight. Wow.
By the way, this is Brandon Gill. Great kid. Magdalene knows his wife. His wife is Dinesh D'Souza's daughter. Precious couple. I'm praying he gets in the Senate. Good kid. Roll the tape.
Well, there's a lot there, and I think that we need to let this investigation play out, but we shouldn't tolerate any leakers in the administration, particularly regarding classified national security interests and information. So we'll let this play out and see where it goes. But if he was leaking, he ought to be held accountable just like anybody else would be.
Now, 5 minutes ago, he seemed to think that Iran was a big threat, and then suddenly that threat went away. It was very odd. Congressman, thank you very much. Great.
Good reporting there by Laura Ingram. She's always good. And then I want to play this video too, because this is interesting. And then I'm going to talk about Wales and England tonight about abortion. It's not good. This is a clip. He was booked an hour after he resigned on Tucker Carlson's program. And all the internet tonight, all the internet is ablaze with this clip. This is how the left-wing loon wing of the party is just as damaging and deadly as the left wing loon of America. Roll the tape. You see that? Everybody's posting the same thing. All the Jew haters are posting the same clip. They've gotten the clip and they're posting it. The tweet, let me just do this. Let me just show you the tweet that this is attached to. And this is from, I can't know this guy's name. I probably should look at some of these names sometime because I look at the tweet. I don't look at who does it. But this is what he said about this. What you're watching there is that it's been revealed that Joe Kent was booked on Tucker Carlson an hour after his resignation. And when the show released, there were hundreds of accounts of posting the same clip with the same message all at once. And you know what that was? The Israelis drove this decision to take this action, blaming the Jews. That's the only part of this clip that they took out. There's something else that I was sent, and I know we may do it tomorrow night if we're on tomorrow night. If not, we're going to do it next week. But there was a clip of Benjamin Netanyahu that's being taken out of context tonight, claiming that Jesus doesn't have as much power as Genghis Khan, and that's not what he was saying. I don't have time to get into that tonight. But again, people are going out of their way to make sure Israel's blamed for something. This is Tucker Carlson tonight. This is his latest crazy thing. He's promoting an anti-Semite that basically got married in Joseph Goebbels' house in the 1930s, and Tucker thinks he's an enlightened individual.
Winston Churchill, who I know we're required to deify, presided over the imprisonment of his opposition party.
Oswald Mosley is who he's talking about.
During the entire length of the war, and their families and their wives. They were rotting in prison away from their little kids, in some cases their infants. The opposition party was led by a First World war hero who fought not just as, a pilot in the sky, but and in the trenches, like one of the great war heroes, former member of parliament, the country ever produced.
Sir Oswald Mosley. And he would become Britain's most notorious fascist. In early 1932, Mosley travelled to Rome to meet Mussolini, and so Mosley returned from Rome a true believer. Not much like Mussolini's followers, Mosley's recruits wore military-style uniforms and black shirts complete with armbands displaying a striking insignia, a flash of lightning inside a circle. They marched in formation and greeted their leader with stiff-armed salutes modelled on those of Italian and German fascists. Then, as Adolf Hitler rose to power in Germany, Mosley increasingly admired the Nazi leader. After all, the two men shared a very similar worldview. Consequently, Mosley benefited from both friendship and financial support. Italy's Mussolini provided secret financial subsidies, equivalent to about £2 million a year in today's money. Mosley's fascist credentials extended into his personal life. He had been in a relationship with one of the famous Mitford sisters. The pair were married on the 6th of October 1936 at, believe it or not, the home of Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels in Berlin. Guess who was the guest of honor at that ceremony? Yep, the man himself, Adolf Hitler. It's worth beginning by noting that Mosley's political fortunes had always fluctuated, as best exemplified by the fact that back in June 1934, at the Olympia rally in London, the BUF's brutal tactics were laid bare. At that event, Mosley's stewards viciously beat anti-fascist protesters who dared to heckle him. Dozens of demonstrators were punched and kicked unconscious by black shirt squads at Olympia, and when the press reported on this orgy of violence, public opinion was left in shock. As a result, the BUF's membership collapsed, dwindling from roughly 50,000 at the start of 1934 to barely 5,000 a year later. Later, Mosley would rebrand himself as an anti-war man, which, in fairness, did see his membership peak once again, reaching around 20,000 or so just before World War II. It was the declaration of war on the 3rd of September that delivered the final blow to the BUF and Mosley's relevance along with it. With Britain now at war with his best mate, his party was just outright banned in May 1940, and Mosley himself was arrested almost simultaneously, deemed a subversive element that simply couldn't be tolerated in such trying times.
Winston Churchill.
It's amazing. It's amazing that all this right-wing podcasting crew can do is praise anti-Semites and praise Nazis and fascists. What's going on? What's going on? One other thing, real quick tonight. Get your questions ready if you got any. If you're not, let me play this one. This is, I'm not sure who this lady is, but she's got something to say about this.
Anti-Semitism is surging in this country and around the world. It breaks my heart. It's happening on campuses, online, and in public spaces where Jewish people should be able to live their lives without calculating the risks. That is a moral emergency, and the moral emergency requires people to show up and be counted, whatever it costs them.
Very true. One other thing tonight, and then it's time to say goodnight. This came out of the Catholic Arena tweet. And let me just say this to our Catholic friends. I know some of you think I'm not fond of Catholics, and that is the furthest thing from the truth. I salute you all. I do. I do, for your fight for life. I wish we Protestants had the gumption and enough courage and the character to do the same like you do. I may not agree with your doctrine, but just because I don't agree with your doctrine don't mean I hate you. And it sure don't mean that I don't respect what you do and what you believe when it comes to life, because I do. I really do. And I'm a Southerner sometimes, and my tone may sound like I'm coming down on you like a can of bricks, and I'm not. I love you enough to tell you the truth. I love you enough to tell you that what you believe in is not right spiritually and eternally. You're in danger of something if you're not careful of what you believe. You got to believe right. You got to believe in Jesus only. You can't believe in a priest or Mary or anybody else. But when it comes to this right here, we are on the same page, and we are on the same fight. And I am not ashamed to tell people that the Catholics are doing one of the best jobs in the world fighting for life. They are. And I would say the Greek Orthodox, in some segments of that religion, are too. There's some Protestants that are, but this fight for life has it's almost become an echo here in America. It's old news. When I was at the Right to Life March last year, it was 98% Catholic and 2% Protestant, and that's how it was the first one I went to 5 years ago in 2020. And but this is going on. It's not about Catholics tonight. This is about the UK. They voted, the House of Lords voted this evening to allow for abortion up to birth without prosecution in England and Wales. And that is a country that is going to apostate. And it should not shock us, because I think if the Dems had power in this country like the House of Lords, they would vote for the same thing. They would vote for the same thing, and sadly, some Republicans would go along with them. And that's the way. That's Gloria Gaynor. I did not realize that. I Will Survive, Gloria Gaynor. Songwriter, song singer from the 1970s. I should read, put my glasses on, it would probably help. But isn't that cool? Gloria Gaynor. All righty, I'm done tonight. Carol Smith, you said the reason that these nations came on board to think Trump threatened to withdraw from NATO, that they changed their minds. I think that had a lot to do with it. I do. I think they saw a Trump whipping coming. And I don't think that they were going to. Hang on just a second. I hit the wrong button there. Yeah, I think that they got the message that they didn't want to mess with Trump. They did not want to mess with Trump. Let's see here. Marianne Franklin, you said just like Iraq. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Sort of qualify that for me. I'm seeing the Facebook statements now sort of rolling in. Roger, you're right. The Justice Department is failing, and it really is in many ways. Elaine Willard says tonight these same people who are the same ones who will be crying in their milk when this country is given away to countries like Iran. I see what you're saying now, Marianne, just like Iraq. And I'm with you there. Elaine says Iran wants to rule the world just like the religion of Islam. Nobody lives surrounded by people who hate them as Israel does. Elaine, that is so true tonight. And like I said a while ago, if you look at a map, and when we get into our study on Sunday night, we've really not even gotten to the deep woods and the weeds of the land issue. When you look at a map of the Middle East, Israel's not even the size of New Jersey. And there's thousands of miles of Arab territory, tens of hundreds at least, And it's insane that it's like when that little tiny nation burps, the entire world goes nuts. This thing this morning that happened with that oil field, yes, maybe it was a little aggressive on Israel's part to do it. But if I'm in Israel's shoes and I'm being shot at every night with rockets, I got a dear friend of Meat that was my tour guide over in Israel, our tour guide, the group. He's been in a bomb shelter for almost 3 weeks straight. Can't even go back to his home and enjoy his bed and enjoy his family. They're all sleeping in a bomb shelter because of stuff that Iran is doing and shooting missiles into their country tonight. There is none of us that would want to live under that kind of threat every day like Israel does. And you know, we keep forgetting that they're still living under the shadow of October the 7th. And you've heard me say this. I just got back from Israel in January. I'm going to tell you something, folks. They're still hurting. They're still reeling. There is a feeling, a sense that October the 7th, it's 3 years ago, but it feels like yesterday to most Israelis. And you can read it in their faces. You can hear it in their speeches. You can hear it. And the economy has been busted. And, you know, and I didn't even realize it until I was in a store. And one beautiful thing about the cheer, by the way, our cheer is in October. Please come be with us if you can. We would love to have you. It's going to be okay by then, I think, to go. We don't want you not to miss. Don't get fearful. I'm having people tell me they're scared to go. Please don't let the devil put fear in your heart not to go. They need us right now. They need us right now. If there's ever a reason to go, it's because of what's happening right now. They need to know that God's people are behind them. But we was in a store, and one of the things that is part of the tour, we got to go into many of those shops and see the Israeli culture and the art and the things from each little area we visited. And I remember going up to the counter and paying for some goods, and I thought the young clerk, the young lady, was going to literally cry. She said, "You do not know how much we appreciate what you're doing, helping us." And when we went to the airport to fly out of Tel Aviv the night that we left to come home and meet, he was very solemn, and he said, "I want to thank all of you that bought on this trip." He said, "You helped finance this country, some of you, for 30 years. He said, "I mean that." He said, "We are so hurting right now. Every industry in Israel is hurting." Why? Why? Because of Islamic terrorism. Because of Islamic terrorism. And this thing with Iran is not helping. But Elaine, your point is 1,000,000% on point. Nobody in the world lives under that kind of threat and that kind of situation like the nation of Israel does. But yet, these pathetic anti-Semitic losers blame Israel for everything that goes wrong in this world. And I got a lot more to say about that, but I don't want to ruin my show tonight. This is a family show, and I'm going to try to keep it clean. Where's James R. when I need him? Where's James R. when I need him? Where's James R. when I need him? Mary, you say they didn't have weapons of mass destruction. Well, I'm not going to argue Iraq with you, Mary. Our intelligence agencies and the Jordanians thought he did. The Australians thought Saddam did. The Israelis thought he did. We don't know what happened to him. But this, let me tell you this. I don't care. I think Magdalene made the point tonight. This ain't 2003. This ain't Iraq. This threat was real. So where we may have gotten some faulty intelligence in Iraq, we ain't got faulty intelligence in Iran. The guy's good at saying we were building bombs. We were building bombs. So what Trump did in June was right. And what he's doing now is right. Because if he don't dismantle, folks, this terrorist nation, if he don't dismantle these missiles, and he don't clear that Strait of Hormuz out, folks, I'm telling you something. We're going to see a 1970 like the oil embargo, and you're going to see the stuff. The oil prices. It's not just going to affect your cars. It's going to affect every aspect. Unfortunately, the world lives on oil, and that's just the way it is. And he can do some things with our own reserves here to offset that. But it's going to create a hiccup and a ripple effect that this earth is not going to feel too good about. Marion, and again, I'm not sure where you're coming from if you're saying we don't have, that Iran don't have these weapons. The guy just said he did. He basically said, we wanted to build a bomb. We just couldn't keep it secret long enough. So I agree with what President Trump's doing. This ain't 2003. It's not apples for apples, in my opinion. In my opinion. So, and you're entitled, to believe, if this is what you believe it's equitable to, then that's fine, and then we're not upset with you about that. But I think the hypocrisy of it all with Joe Kent is that he was claiming that Iran never said that they had any intention to build a bomb. Oh, yeah, they did. Oh, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. And I see your point now, Marianne. I got it. Dennis says Iran was a whisker away from having a nuclear bomb. Hitting them was more important for now than deporting for illegals. And Dennis, I tend to agree with that. I tend to believe that may be why Trump did what he did. And I think the timing of Noam's firing had a lot to do with this. And I think once McWayne Mullen gets in, then we'll see that effort to deport illegals get back in earnest. And we'll see what happens. I think we can chew gum and tie our shoes at the same time. Marianne, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, Iraq was denying it too. And unfortunately for us, it did put egg on our face for a while. Bush Jr., but in all fairness to Bush Jr., I know some people are going to disagree with this. Bush Jr., if he would not have went into Iraq, and let's just say that there had been weapons of mass destruction, and Saddam had used them on, by the way, the Iranians back in the 1990s, this mustard gas and chemical weapons. And we definitely know Syria had chemical weapons. I had many a prophet, I had many a people during that time tell me in the early 2000s that they thought that Saddam, when they knew, thanks to our wonderful media that can't keep their mouth shut, he had a heads up months before we were going to attack him, and he very likely would have had an opportunity to ship those weapons somewhere. And it's nothing coincidental to me that 15 years later, the only time Trump had to deal in his first term with something like this was Syria. Guess what they were doing? They were using chemical weapons on their people. Where did they get them from? They didn't fall out of heaven. They got them from somewhere. And nobody really talked about that. So, yeah, they denied they had them, and I guess that will be something for eternity. I don't think any of us ever truly know if they did or not. I do believe they had some form of chemical weapons, and whether it was worth all the stuff we did there, I don't know. It certainly wasn't worth the nation building. We should have went in there, and when they pulled Saddam Hussein out of that hole, then that should have been the end of our involvement in Iraq. We should have just told the Iraqis, it's your government, you do what you want to do. We removed the dictator. If you want another dictator, have at it. But we have done our part and got out, but we didn't do that. I don't see Trump doing this in Iran. It's a whole different ball of wax. And I think your point is well taken. Both nations denied they had these weapons. And Dennis, to your point, Trump did the right thing. I'm with you. I'm with you. I am with you. Anyway, good stuff tonight. Thank you all. Let's see if we've got any other things in Facebook tonight or YouTube. Carol, you're right. Our technology is so much greater than it was in 2003. It is. It very well is. Did you enjoy the show tonight? We're so grateful to have you, and we hope that you enjoyed Magdalene Rose tonight. It was a good Thursday night show, and it's 11:30. I'm out of here. We'll see you back here early in the morning now. We'll be early on the Bible study, and then possibly tomorrow night. That's up in the air right now, but we will definitely see you Sunday morning at 8:30 on our Sunday morning worship service. We'll be in Grand Ridge, Florida at 11 o'clock Central Time. So if you're in the greater North Florida area and you'd like to come visit us, email me at McFilesForum@gmail.com. I'll tell you where the church is at, because we'd love to have you to visit us, and they would love to have you visit too. It would give them a jolt of encouragement. And so please come be with us if you can. If you're in the South Georgia, North Florida, Southeast Alabama area, and even if you're in California, come on and fly on in. Join us. Come see the beach. Come to the beach and come have church with us. But seriously, though, we'd love to have you Sunday, and then we'll see you Sunday night here. And then we get it all started again Monday, right here on the McFiles News Network. I do encourage you, spiritwordfire.com. We've done some work on our website tonight. It looks very good. And encourage you to go to our face site and the McFiles.org. We're working on putting our new site back up, and a lot of things we're working on right now to keep you informed in these troublesome days. Listen, God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. Thank you for all the great questions. Elaine, very, very well stated about Israel tonight. I appreciate you saying that. You're right. And I think it needs to be stated more. that sentiment is not being felt in the country. The country don't feel that way. We think everything's Israel's fault. There's a lot of people that do. And all this conspiracy talk is nothing but of the devil. I'll just go out with that tonight, not blinking and not saying it. It's of the devil, and those that pander to that is of the devil, and those that share that stuff are of the devil, and those that believe that stuff is of the devil. If I cannot make that more clear than that, I don't know if I can. But I will make that clear as I leave. They are of their father, the devil. Have a good night, everybody. It's time for Chris to say good night, because while I'm ahead. God bless you out there. Have a good one. Enjoy yourself. Fellowship a little bit as we go out of here tonight. We're so grateful to have you. Thank you, Magdalene Rose, another great show, kid. God bless you. God bless you all. Good night.